Hi everybody, I'm Rebecca Kelly from Flat Living Magazine and I'm here today with Adam from Cleverly to find out more about the software. Thanks for joining us, Adam.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So before we get started, what I'd like to do is just actually understand a little bit about who you are. So I just wondered if you could introduce yourself, please.
Sure. So Cleverly is a software company that produces maintenance software for facilities management and property maintenance companies. In my previous life, we had a property maintenance company that serviced a number of block managers and property managers throughout the UK. And we had always built our own software. So we have since made that available to others, and that is Cleverly.
Perfect, that sounds great. And so can you give us an overview of what the software then does?
Sure. So it's a pretty comprehensive platform. We can manage a variety of spaces. It handles both planned and reactive maintenance, but also does project management, compliance, and also integrates with sensors to provide input either within the system or alerts and notifications to others outside of the system. It handles payments. It has a no-code automation of workflow module. So it does quite a lot of things, but the main thing it's supposed to do is make everyone's life easier as far as handling maintenance.
Perfect. It sounds like really comprehensive. The software itself, is it purchased by managing agents for them to use with their clients, or is it used by self-managed companies? Who are your main target audience?
So we have two primary customer types. The first are maintenance and facilities management companies, and they use it to manage both in-house and external suppliers. And the second is for property managers, either within private sector companies like retail and hospitality chains, or letting agents and property managers who use it just to handle the compliance and maintenance element of their job.
Perfect. That sounds brilliant. So I think what we can do now is actually jump in and have a look at the software and have a look around.
So this is the Cleverly system. It is designed to be intuitive, but it is a pretty comprehensive solution. So it will probably require some explaining to get a sense of what it can do. As I say, it's used by both facilities management and maintenance professionals who manage their own spaces, as well as facilities management companies who respond to inquiries from customers with regards to maintenance or compliance regulatory works required at their property. So the way in which this system is set up is that this is a facilities management company that would receive work orders or instructions from property managers or block managers. This is the way in which a help desk or operations team would normally engage with the software. So this is an instant snapshot of the things that they have going on any particular day. Up the top, these are hot links that allow them to get to different parts of the system so that they can see if they have jobs today, for example, they get a calendar and they can get a sense of what they've got going on any particular week. They have tasks set up on the right-hand side, which are things that they need to do, such as to assign a supplier to a job that has been raised within the system. But this is kind of an overarching view of what is going on for an operations or maintenance team on any given day. There are a number of ways in which the system can be amended in this part. So tasks gives them a list of just the tasks that they need to do. This is their kind of giant to-do list. Calendars and holiday times can be input so that either suppliers or team members can be made available or unavailable depending on their schedule, and it will route work orders and notifications accordingly. Work orders are where you see jobs that have come in. Either the customers have logged them themselves via their login, or they have been raised by the facilities management company or maintenance team. This is a typical work order flow. So it goes through a number of different steps in its life cycle. And each of these steps can be used to trigger alerts or notifications to let suppliers or either customers or in-house admin users know. On the right-hand side, we have here a list of all the communications that get attached to a particular job. So you can send messages either internally or to customers or to suppliers. This also allows you to reconcile once in particular invoices have been paid. The customers in this situation are companies such as letting agents and property managers. Each of them has their own entity, and you can navigate through the different parts of the customer profile here. So finance obviously refers to the jobs that they've booked, whether there's any outstanding amounts on their account. You can set up limits and either on a per job basis, so approval and spend threshold here, or on an overall account basis. You can also assign credit limits and credit ratings or reports, upload credit reports for them here too. The users are these people on the customer side. So it could be a maintenance team, a group of users, or it could be individual users such as each property manager or letting agent. The locations are the properties and blocks that they would manage. The compliance is either in relation to their properties on a customer level, or perhaps the insurance and accreditation and certification requirements for suppliers if we're looking at the suppliers. Bookings just gives you an idea of the things that they've done, the work and spend history that's been carried out on this account. SLAs are where you agree certain performance thresholds, either on a charging basis or a time required to get to site and to report on the findings thereof. Services are all the different service lines that a customer can book jobs for. By default, they can book any job or any service line on the system, but they can be limited accordingly. And quotes are the quote management element of the system, which allows you to farm out quotes to multiple potential suppliers, all get returned to you in a standard format to make it easier to compare. And any materials and labor, etc., are broken down and stored for you in a PDF format here. Locations, as I mentioned, is the list of all the properties that are loaded on the system. A snapshot can give you an overall compliance score here, so you can see what you've got coming up and get a sense of your overall portfolio health in terms of compliance. We do also allow you to upload assets, which for us are either pieces of plant or equipment, or it could be bookable resources such as parking spaces, meeting rooms, cinema rooms, anything like that that may be relevant to block managers. Suppliers is the supply chain or the contractors that a property and block manager would use. So these are the list of them all. You can turn them on and off, and each of them has, like the customer does, a navigable profile here. It can take us through what is outstanding or due to them on their account, the users associated with them, the compliance such as their insurance, which sends reminders to them as and when required. The onboarding system for them can be customized here, so you can ask for particular questions to get their environmental health policy, these sorts of things, and they're stored here. The planned maintenance is the PPM schedules that they are working on, and you can get a sense of those here. And the data we store and report on more than 50 data points for suppliers such as time to site attendance, time to close jobs down, quote response time, and various other things, and you'll be able to see those for a supplier within their entity here. This supplier hasn't got any jobs, so it doesn't have any of that data, but I can show you that in other parts of the system. Automation for us is where you can customize the system to work as it would best work for you. So you can create new workflows, which I'll show you how to do here in a no-code way. You can call this a existing supplier, so that you might be able to search for these and find them more easily. And here it's just if conditions. So you can say if a job is raised and it's at a particular property and it relates to a particular service line. So you may have an existing access control supplier that you want to use and you don't want to use anyone else, or indeed you're contracted only to use them. Then when a job is raised, you can assign it to that supplier. You can add multiple conditions as necessary here. So you can also create a new task in the system so that someone is made aware and they'll receive notifications, as you'll see here, when that happens. The other way in which you can customize the system is called events. And this allows you to send any of the following emails, create tasks within the system, send SMSs, do in-app or browser notifications, or potentially integrate with Slack and WhatsApp. And you send messages on these channels. You can customize these messages by going into the off canvas here. You can see what the email, for example, is going to say, and you can change it just by typing new text here. That allows you to, create more specific messages or even insert seasonal greetings or anything like that within the system here. The quote side of things, the quote flow follows is similar to jobs, so we'll go through a number of different stages. Reminders are by default automatically sent to suppliers, for example, to remind them that they have quotes due. And here is where, as I say, you can see quotations that have been returned from suppliers and are stored in an PDF format. Once these are accepted, they're automatically turned into jobs and then would follow the workflow of a job. Planned maintenance is the PPM side of the maintenance world. And this is where you can create maintenance schedules for properties. I will just show you how you can do that. So if we look at a particular property, here is the tab for planned maintenance. You can add new elements of planned maintenance here. So perhaps you have to do an aerial survey every year. You can say when this starts, how often it repeats, how much is charged either to the customer or to the supplier, and it will automatically generate the invoices on those. Compliance is similar. So compliance is the required services or works that are carried out for particular sites. Compliance is often a subset of our planned maintenance work, but this is what generates the scores and tells you what your overall compliance levels are at property or portfolio level. Data, as I say, we capture more than 50 data points across the platform. Things like average job price, how much is spent on PPM versus reactive, amounts per supplier, how many jobs still remain open, how long it takes for jobs to be accepted. We are always looking to improve the universe of data points. So if they're not there, chances are we would like to add them. So we're always willing to hear and entertain additional metrics within the system. And on the right is all the settings. So a number of ways in which you can tailor the system. One of the most important perhaps is this category section, which allows you to use your categories for expenses or for cost categories. So you can use things like PPM in contract, or you can add particular cost centers as required. Job templates and questions is where you can create standardized jobs. So either a checklist of jobs that need to be completed with a set frequency, where you want to make sure that the same items are done every single time, and you can ask for levels to be input by the attending suppliers for these sorts of things. And the other part is the triage questions. So for example, here we have a number of questions that are attached to an appliance error code, where we could ask things such as, is it plugged in? You can tailor these obviously. So can this question be anything means that question can be anything. And you can add as many as you want. And every time you create a job of that particular service line with this job description, it will prompt these questions to be answered. So that is kind of a quick snapshot of the system. I'll just show you very quickly on the finance side to show how this can also reconcile payments. So if we choose a particular customer, this will show all the work that has been undertaken on their account. You can add payments received. You can, for example, auto-reconcile these so that they follow the oldest invoices, or you can assign them to individual invoices by clicking on these. And that will then update the account accordingly.
The question that I kind of had in my head is, if I was living in a flat and the lift was broken, can I log into the software myself to log the problem? Or is this more for the property managers when they take the call and then they do that?
No, so this is a multi-party system. So as a property manager, you can add tenants to an individual property. So I'll just show you quickly how to do that. So you can add a tenant. You can say when they are there for. So for example, the short-term property managers use this to just input for a week the fact that someone is going to be there. And that means that every time you can send them a link, or they'll automatically get sent an email which gives them access to the Cleverly portal for this period of time and the Cleverly app for this period of time. And then if anything happens, they can automatically report an issue. Depending on the rules that you've set up, normally the property manager will be made aware of it. They'll receive a notification and the task will be added to their system asking them to approve a particular job. And then it will be released onto the system once they've done that. You can also set, so this is, for example, approve a new job request where just such a thing has happened. You can set it so that tenants can release jobs onto the system themselves, but 95% of the time, to be honest, the property manager wants to see it before that's done. We're always adding more automation, and as I say, with sensors where we use, for example, leak detection or to alert on-site engineers that something hasn't been closed, this can happen again without any input whatsoever. So it connects to quite a few third-party software solutions. So the scheduling and the booking of things like meeting rooms or tennis courts or cinemas or parking spaces or anything like that links to Google Calendar and Microsoft Office 365 Exchange. On the business information side, we've got a few integrations with Metabase, Google Data Studio, for example. On the sensor side, we have quite a few integrations. On the finance side, we have thus far Sage and shortly Xero coming. On the property management side, we generally haven't got many. We have an API that that can be used to integrate with any of the modern day PMS, but we haven't done a hard integration yet. But we are definitely open to doing so. What we have found is that with the ability for customers to go in and input jobs themselves, or with the legacy systems that block managers are using, we get work orders in many different guises, and it's quite a fragmented world. So it's difficult to know exactly which one to integrate with. But,
definitely. I think if you say you've got the API there as well, that potential is there, isn't it, for people if that's what they'd like to then consider doing. Perfect. So thanks ever so much for your time today, Adam, and showing us Cleverly. How can people find out more about you, get in touch if they'd like to?
So we'd love to speak to anyone about how the Cleverly system can work for them. They can email us at contact@cleverly.work or go to www.cleverly.work and reach out to us via our contact form there.
Perfect, that's brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your time today. It was great to see you, and it's great to understand how Cleverly works. And yeah, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity. Speak to you soon.